The Chicago Bears coaching search continues as the Bears have completed interviews with Dan Petzing and Mike Vrabel. We talked about Mike Vrabel already. We're going to get to the interview of Dan Petzing, what came out of that. Plus, we have kind of details on the criteria and kind of how the Chicago Bears are attacking this head coaching search. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And the Bears have now completed their interview with Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. Now, this is a guy that's not high on my list as far as candidates for the Chicago Bears, but it seems like that when it comes down to it, this was a virtual interview. All the first round interviews will be conducted virtually. This is reported by Diana Rossini from The Athletic, and it seems like the same contingent of Bears that were there for Mike Vrabel's interview were the same people here for Drew Petzing. Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, George McCaskey, Jeff King, and Liz Geist were the ones that were completing this, as well as Director of Football Administration Mike Feinstein was here as well. So that's what it comes down to. This is a guy who was a wide receivers coach with the Minnesota Vikings, an assistant quarterback coach as well before being promoted to the wide receivers coach in 2019. So, it is what it is. He actually was there some while Kevin Warren was also with Minnesota, so maybe there's some familiarity there. He joined the Cleveland Browns as a tight end coach in 2020-21, and then the quarterback coach in 2022, and then he was made the offensive coordinator with the Arizona Cardinals in 2023. So that's what it comes down to. The Bears have now completed 2 of their first-round interviews so far. The Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka is coming in today, January 9th. As well as Pete Carroll is going down all today. And then you got Ben Johnson that's going down on Saturday, as well as Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as well going down Saturday per what we know so far. So that's what the Bears have lined up. It's going to be really interesting to see how things go when it comes down to it. But overall, everybody's going to have their chance to make their best pitch for the Chicago Bears. And in this first round of interviews, the Bears are, they've been lasting about an hour per reports that the Bears are really kind of getting a mindset on what kind of the outline of the vision that these coaches have for the Chicago Bears and their personnel and what they want for the team going forward. And that's what this first round of interviews is going to be, right? We're not going to hear a whole lot of detail to come out this first round of interviews. The second round, that's going to be the key, right? To see who makes it from the first round of interviews to the second round of interviews is going to be the part that really tells us where the Bears are right now in this head coaching search. But one of the prospective candidates that will get an interview is Thomas Brown. And Thomas Brown has talked about what he feels could give him an opportunity to land this head coaching job, even though I don't think that I think it's a long shot for him to make it. But he says this: I think having a chance to lay out my whole vision, the plan I have for this football team moving forward, is going to be a part of it. Them having a chance to see me in the building is something that, to me, should be more impressive than everything else. I think the approach I've had to every single day in the building, the mentality I brought to the group, should stand out. I mean, listen, Thomas Brown is a guy that I really do want to root for. I don't think that he should be the Bears' next head coach personally. That's just my personal opinion. I know that there are a contingent of Bears fans that would love to see Thomas Brown get an opportunity to be the head coach of this team, to see what he could really bring. But I think Thomas Brown is somebody that I can't wait to see what he does as a full-time offensive coordinator, right? That's what I'm excited to see. I think what he's shown here when he moved over to being the offensive coordinator, calling plays from that box, the play calling was dynamic. And I've said this before. Some people have asked, well, why does he have to be in the box? Why did that not maintain when he moved to the sideline? And I always look at it as every coach has their thing, right? The thing that is their kind of pathway to being successful. And if Thomas Brown is, as an offensive coordinator, is being in that box, it's great. Now, of course, whoever the Bears hire as the head coach should, and I hope that they get to decide on their staff from top to bottom. But if they keep an open mind on potentially keeping Thomas Brown on as the offensive coordinator, I wouldn't be mad at that. I think that Thomas Brown could be a damn good offensive coordinator when it all comes down to it. In my personal opinion, right? I know not everyone is going to agree with that, and that's perfectly fine, but that's just kind of what I look at it as in my personal view on it. I think that Thomas Brown should get an opportunity because even when he took over play calling with the Panthers, he took it over. He didn't go into that. I think he should get an opportunity. I think he showed enough to get that opportunity. It may not be here with Chicago, but I wouldn't be mad at him getting that opportunity. We just got to see, what the future is going to hold. If he ends up staying in the building, and then again, if he's interviewed for the head coaching role, does he stay on as there's a lot of questions there. But, whatever the future holds for Thomas Brown, I hope that he gets that opportunity, and I hope that he excels at it. I just don't think he's the guy right now to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. That's just my personal opinion. Not everybody's going to agree with that, and that's fine. But you guys can let me know how you feel on that down below. But with that said, per Courtney Cronin, we've kind of gotten a feel of exactly how the Bears plan on attacking and doing that. Now, some of this has also already been evident by how they've gone about it, right? The Bears requesting interviews from 14 candidates, right? Everything ranging from Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, right? To even, the Iowa State head coach, which is still crazy to me. That's not somebody I had necessarily on it. But when you look at it, right? Historically, the Bears have hired coaches from assistants, right? That's happened. The one time that the team, the head coach that they hired that had previous NFL head coaching experience was John Fox. That's it. So typically, the Bears go for first-time head coaches. That's why you see a lot of the Bears fans that say, no, we want somebody who's been a head coach before, right? And, when it comes down to it, Poles had a direct quote that said this: if you have been a head coach before, there's a lot of value because some of the new things you've already experienced. You kind of have a playbook and the blueprint on how to counter the things when they go away from you or when you have success. How do you make sure everyone stays humble and they continue to work better? So that's what we've heard on it, right? Now, we know that via what they've done as far as setting up interviews, that's not like they're exclusively only looking at people who have had prior head coaches. No, because you got Ben Johnson on there. You got Brian Flores on there, right? You got David Shaw on there, the Stanford head coach on there as well, right? Candidates that the Bears do want to interview also. So when it comes down to that as well, like they want to make sure everything fits. And that's something that Ryan Poles has said as well, right? Now, one of the questions here is that what if the candidates, and Courtney Cronin presents this in her article, what if the candidates want to bring in their own general manager? And, she defaults to saying this: Kevin Warren, I think we made it clear. I made it clear in early December. He's our point person, talking about Ryan Poles on this search. He's our general manager. He's head of football operations. I'm confident that if we do our job from the process standpoint, which we will, and sit down and be open and honest, that people will look at this as a great opportunity from a hypothetical standpoint. I'm confident with the group we have right now and Ryan leading our charge. No, they're not going to allow a head coach to come in here and choose their general manager. They're just not. And there's even been now some speculation that Ryan Poles, this one came from David Kaplan, take that for what you will, because sometimes cap be capping, right? Is that Ryan Poles may even already have an additional year in his contract. And if that's the case, that's the case. It is what it is. At this point, I'm not going to complain about whatever it is because the Bears are going to bear. They're going to do what they're going to do. And overall, you still got to hope that the best comes out of it, right? If Ryan Poles has an additional year on it, it is what it is. It is what it comes down to. But the Bears are not going to allow a head coach to come in here and dictate what they do with their general manager position. And to a degree, I agree with that. I don't think a head coach that comes in, unless they're a head coach that has had tons of success before, should have a say, especially if you hire a first-time head coach, should have a say in who the GM is. Now, of course, they're going to have their opinion and they're going to have their desires as far as the alignment and making sure that a GM is not going to get fired a year after they get hired, which then throws everything into turmoil as far as what the future is for them. Fair in that, right? But when it comes down to it, the Bears are not going to allow that to happen, and we just got to see how that's going to keep on. Now, I don't agree with McCaskey's thought process that alignment doesn't matter, right? I don't agree with that, but I do agree that the fact that you don't want to allow anything to dictate your process other than the process. If you want to have normalcy, it's not normal for a head coach, especially if it's a first-time head coach, to choose your GM. That's just not how things get done. I don't know if we've seen that ever happen before, much less it be successful, right? And then the other thought process is are the Bears going to favor an offensive-minded head coach? And the thing that I think that we've seen in the interview so far, while Joe Brady, Drew Petzing, Mike Kafka, Todd Monken, Arthur Smith, and of course Ben Johnson are all offensive-minded guys, you can equally look at that and see that the number of defensive-minded guys in Mike Vrabel, in Brian Flores, right, in these guys that they're potentially bringing in. So when it comes down to it, I think that the Bears are just looking after who's going to bring the best vision. And I think if you do go defensive-minded head coach, you got to be sure that that guy is going to fill out their staff with a really good offensive coordinator that can develop, that can adapt, and that can call a damn good offense, right? And so there are, of course, some candidates in there that you think more in that when it comes down to it. But, yeah, there's an ideal fit. And I think that ideal fit is that we'll see, right? Again, to go to Poles' own words, you got to look at all the characteristics of what you're looking for in a head coach. And then you got to see what's the best bundle of those things to bring in the building. Obviously, we're talking about leadership, accountability, and some important things that carry over. Regardless of what the situation is, those have to be there. To ignore those, to just go on the other side, I think it's a bad deal too. Really, it's the candidate that has the best collection of those things. That's what the team is looking for. Now, there is a lot to be said about how the Bears are going about this head coaching search. The fact that they do have as many candidates as what they do, the fact that they do seem kind of undecided on exactly what they want. But I'll say this. If they're going to be undecided, of course, I would love to have a front office that has visions like, no, we want a head coach that has this. We want a head coach that's offensive minded. We want to, but if you're unsure, I can understand the process of going through and talking to many people and seeing who brings the best pitch when it comes down to it. So the Bears just got to find their way. They got to find their path. We got to have some faith that they're going to do it. Some pessimism is warranted, definitely when it comes to this Chicago Bears team, right? And that's what it comes down to, man. And overall, we just got to hope. And that's the crazy thing about being a Bears fan, because we always have to give hope to a team that is really, really not giving us much reason to have faith in the way that they execute. And that's just the reality of it, right? But we got to get it down. Right now, the Bears have also requested interviews from Cliff Kingsbury. This has been a mixed bag from Bears fans. Of course, we have some Commanders fans in here that are like, you're never going to get Cliff Kingsbury. Listen, the thing that I say with all of this is that once again, the Chicago Bears had an opportunity, right, to have Cliff Kingsbury already in their building, but they decided to hire Shane Waldron. Then now you see what the success that Cliff Kingsbury had with Jaden Daniels, right? And now you're in the relationship that he has with Caleb Williams, and now you're looking at that for your head coach. But, you know, it is what it is. This thing is going to have more scrutiny over it than anything else. But like I've said many times before, it all comes down to the result. Do you get the result that you need? Do you get the right guy? If this is what you have to go through, if you got to go through 14, 15, 16 candidates, but you end up finding the right guy, that is the most important part in all of this, is getting the right guy. And so, you know, I put my own feelings aside as far as what I want to see the Bears do, as far as who the candidates I feel is best, because they got to make that decision. That's not on me to make that decision. But per Dan Rossini as well, right now, Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel are the guys right now that are leading of the pack, that they are the favorites to land the job. And so, you know, I'm not too mad at it, right? Now, there have been some that come out as well that say this. Some in league circles believe Vrabel and GM Ryan Poles would be a great match. Given their Kansas City Chief connections, the bigger question seems to be about compatibility with ownership. Will Vrabel have enough faith into the McCaskies, and will George McCaskey sign off on a true alpha leader who won't be afraid to ruffle feathers inside the building? Whether Vrabel takes the job or not, how serious things get between the two sides could tell us a lot about how the job is viewed around the league. And here's what I'll say. If the McCaskies are afraid to bring in somebody that's going to ruffle some feathers, this thing is doomed before it starts. You should want those feathers ruffled because, yeah, we've seen too many yes men in here throughout Chicago. If McCaskies want another yes man, then we're just going to end up in the same thing. It's all for naught. It doesn't matter who you hire. If the McCaskies are out for another yes man, it's going to fail. Because I tell you what, if you get somebody that just says yes to the McCaskies aren't smart enough in football, modern football or otherwise, for them to deserve having yes men around this franchise. That's just my personal opinion. We have not gotten to the level of being able to say we need yes men. It'd be different if we had an ownership that won Super Bowls, that we had a dynasty within the last 20 years that we can look back and say, well, ownership has their way to go about it. It's been successful. If they want some people to just follow their vision, cool. No, we don't have that. George McCaskey is largely an idiot when it comes to football. He may be a great businessman, and he probably is a funny dude to be around. I've actually know some people that have actually spent some time with George McCaskey, and they say he's actually a really humble and personable guy. But when it comes to football, right, you can be a good person, but be a terrible football mind, right? So that's what it comes down to. We need somebody who's going to disrupt. We need somebody who's not going to be afraid to ruffle some feathers. You don't want anybody who's just going to ruffle them to say that they did some shit, but you do need somebody who's not afraid to do that, because guess what? We've had people who haven't ruffled feathers for the last 30 years. And where the hell did that get us, right? Where the hell did that put us? Did that put us in winning a Super Bowl? Hell no. It did not. Did that put us in having a 4,000-yard passer? No, it did not. Did they put us in being one of the favorites in the NFC North? No, it did not. Did they put us in being a consistently good franchise? No, it did not. So yeah, come in. Don't be afraid to ruffle those feathers, because I tell you what, some of those feathers need to be ruffled, because those 120 whatever year old feathers that Virginia McCaskey got, some of them motherfuckers need to be plucked, much less ruffled. So let's hope that we get the guy with the right mindset to come in here, and we'll see what comes about it. But with that said, get on the football field, man. Real quick, want to acknowledge something that came out about Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright actually graded out as one of the best tackles in the game of football last season, and so during the regular season. And this is Pro Football Focus, so it's always, it is what it is. But Darnell Wright got graded with a 79.3 grade, right? That is the fifth best right tackle grade in the entire NFL. Now, with that said, that doesn't always, PFF grades can be a little misleading when it comes down to it. When you look at the right tackles that were graded better than Darnell Wright, you got Zach Tom with Green Bay. You got Penei Sewell with Detroit. You got Lane Johnson with Philly, and then Brian O'Neill with Minnesota. And so what that comes down to it, he graded really damn well. And that's why you see a lot of people say that Darnell Wright is the guy that, the one person that they want to see stay on this offensive line. His grade overall, 79.3 overall grade. He had a pass blocking grade of 75.4, a run blocking grade of 82.2. He played 1,021 snaps. He had 8 penalties and allowed 6 sacks on the season. Now, I know people are going to look at that 6 sacks, but when you have an offensive line that allows for 68 sacks in the season, it is what it is when it comes down to it, especially when the number of snaps that he played. So, of course, you want to get that sack number down. You want to continually improve. He was in his second year, but I think overall, with drafting him 10th overall, right, bypassing Jalen Carter, it looks like, again, and with Javon Dexter developing what it is right now, it seems that this wasn't a bad selection by the Chicago Bears and Darnell Wright. You put a better offensive line out there and him on a better overall offensive line that has more continuity and just better skill, overall better health, I think you see much better numbers from Darnell Wright in his third year as well. And you better hope to, because we need him to protect Caleb Williams, right? So Darnell Wright, as much pessimism as I've had lately, wanted to share some positivity. Darnell Wright having a solid grade when it comes down to the PFF grade on the season. But we'll see what happens when it comes down to it. We got a lot of things that we need to improve. Caleb Williams is being more and more vocal about how he was coached this year as well. And, when it comes down to it, man, the Bears got a lot that they need to improve. We got a lot that we need to develop on. And we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. Caleb did say this in regards to coaches, though. I think I was coached well for the task at hand. Coaches being fired, only being here for a certain amount of time, trying to build a relationship between coaches, I think that's a challenge in of itself. To have different coaches throughout the season, to have different terminologies and the way they believe in stuff, trying to run somebody else's offense, I think the overall part of the year, I would say I was coached well. Now, the Bears fans are going to hear that and say, coach well? What? But here's the thing. I think Caleb is taking this look from a football player standpoint, and the fact that he got a lot of different terminology thrown at him. He had a lot of different situations, and that is why, and it highlights the fact of you got to get this head coaching situation right. You got to bring stability for Caleb. Jalen Johnson talked about it, and the instability that Justin Fields had. You have to have stability. That's what helps build things. I'm not going to say that stability alone is going to make everything and correct all the shit, but it's going to go a long way in helping to get things to be more normal here as a franchise in the NFL. So, yes, the Bears definitely need to look at bringing some stability for their young quarterback that is going to be the quarterback going forward. They got to bring some stability for him, and that's what this offseason is about. That's what this head coaching search is about, finding that stability. And let's hope that we get that, man. Overall, I'm gonna maintain some positivity when it comes down to it. I'm still not gonna believe that everything's gonna be successful until I see it on the football field for this team. But overall, let's hope that the Bears are going in the right direction. Let's hope that we figure this shit out, because Lord knows that we deserve to figure some stuff out with this team. But as always, thank you guys for supporting. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you guys want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. Oh, by the way, I also have a Substack now. I'm writing for the Chicago Bears. You're going to get daily articles if you go over to the Substack. I'll put the link in the description of this so you can sign up for it. It's completely free, no charge. But if you want some written articles from an actual Chicago Bears fan that's unbiased, go and sign up to the Chicago Bears Central Substack. But like I like to end everything on, Chi-Town up, bear down, y'all. Love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.